This is based on a sensory homunculus, which is a model of the body based on nerve endings allotted to different body parts. So the hands are very large, and if it had a head, it would have a huge tongue and enormous lips. It's just the buckskin clothing for a frontier or Native American sensory homunculus. I often use my own body as sort of a reference point or a jumping off point. I mean, earlier works were kind of more complete bodies, and here we just are left with the footprint. I scanned my foot and then projected that onto fabric, traced it, and then quilted the pattern. So I was interested in obtaining a detail, a scale where I could depict each kind of print ridge. These are hundreds of photographs of tissue, Kleenex facial tissues, and each time you pull one out, it assumes a different pose, a kind of different expression, and so photographing, I think, probably 2 or 3 boxfuls of Kleenex, and then rearranging them into a sort of vanishing perspective.
Just speaking of technique, this is a photo collage, and you're using photo collage extensively in your current work, and have been.
Yeah, more recently I've been, it's great, the digital age has arrived in the Hawkinson studio. Maybe there came a finger basket collage, which is obviously related, where the fingertips become woven into a basket. And then from that, it's an easy jump over to just a single finger. This is touching collage. The fingertip, and then there's a mouth in the fingertip, and an eye in the mouth, a nose in the eye, and an ear in the nostril of the nose. It's like you can look at something and feel what it tastes like, and how sort of the way the senses kind of combine and mingle. And I just did kind of permutations on that idea where a different sensory organ was used for the base of each of the other 4 collages. So the seeing collage, smelling, tasting, and hearing.
And then, of course, the related body sculptures.
Right, the sensory organ entanglements.
Is this a new point of a new kind of work for you?
I've done other. This is Bondo. I've done other sculpture, kind of figurative sculptures in Bondo. I tried to remain pretty open to different forms, and
it's almost traditional in its three-dimensionality.
It seems to cry out to be cast in bronze. Bondo is it's body filler, auto body filler. So you see cars driving around with this pink kind of fender. That's Bondo repair work going on. I'm a native Californian. I grew up in the northern part of the state around San Francisco, and then moved to LA a little over 20 years ago. So LA is kind of, it feels like home now. I mean, I think as an undergrad, I was a studio assistant for an artist named Fred Spratt, who kind of instilled a kind of sense of discipline in me, a work ethic. There was this kind of convoluted process I used to create this netting or web kind of form, and then built that up with acrylic paint, and then in this case, it's backed with the polyester and has this kind of a pinkish glaze, translucent glaze around it.
And the reference is both to the egg and to kind of almost like a cell, a slice of a cell.
Yeah,
from
my
bio
people
classes.
thought it looked like a cross section of a lung or something.
But you seem to, at least for me, you seem to always inject a kind of pop culture, dash, if you will, in the form of the ribbon and the silver and all that. And so it takes us into that register at the same time. That seems to be a kind of a constant trope in your work, I would say.
I guess so. It's not something I'm super aware of or really try to push, but it kind of comes out. They're just more about pattern.
They're almost ambient.
Yes, and this one is especially ambient. It's lit with this kind of pulsing ambient light where it's the backlighting is dropping out and the front lighting is picking up. Yeah, this one is called Nut Tree. The objects suggested walnuts to be suspended in branches, and then you have kind of a bark pattern around the outside of the piece.
A totem pole.
Totem pole made of found containers, gas cans, and milk bottles, detergent bottles, and there's a spray, kind of a spritzer at the top, thermos cooler at the very base. The entire piece is covered with string, which gives it this wood pattern, and then paper mache over that.
It reminds me that your work is funny. There's always this kind of sense of humor percolating through.
I think it's a definite kind of way of kind of engaging the work, of an inroad into other ideas. It's I think beyond just basic humor, but certainly a component of the work. And so what I did was I set my scanner at something like 1600 DPI, which takes like 20 minutes for the scanner to the bar to go all the way across. So, and I put it out in the backyard and opened it up before the sun had come up, and just like at 6:30 a.m. something like that. And so the top portion is all gray, and that's just the night sky. And then as it gets lighter, then the ambient light sort of illuminating the scanner and reading as this kind of an image or spectral light spectrum. I laid the pieces of paper out on the studio floor and painted this kind of dragon-y, the brush strokes, and reassembled it, and there was a little bit of scattering and disorganization, and then painted back into it, and it just allowed it to remain kind of fluid. The Klein bottle is it's a continuous surface. The inside and the outside are the same. So I had done a couple of pieces using the Mobius strip and just researching that. I came across the Klein bottle. If you use a woven model, it's more of a kind of walking through the wall sort of thing, where the two are coexisting. The tube doesn't really penetrate, but just travels through the side. For me, the inclusion of the Klein bottle in this room kind of references the collages and the kind of inside and outside of the body, that kind of internal voyage.
You like to reference these scientific knowledge systems, tapping of or extracting of scientific information for aesthetic purposes.
I think it's kind of going back to what I said earlier about how these accurate kind of systems of depicting the body have, because they're so focused on a certain aspect of the body, have a built-in distortion, and I'm interested in that kind of flip-flop in reality and surrealism.